Hey, FlowChat connector, Sean here at you with another high ticket tune-up. And I'm curious, have you ever wanted to change your prospect's state and put them almost into a trance so that they'll think the way you want them to? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly one NLP technique that'll help you do that. Stay tuned. What's happening, FlowChat connector? Sean here, back at you Kapow! For another high ticket tune-up. Hope you're having a great day today. Today is Wednesday. It is the middle of the week. I hope more deals are coming your way. But today we're going to dive back into some NLP. This one's a little bit more advanced, but it was kicked off by a great question. The question came from Miss Jane. Jane asked me this. She said, Sean, I have trouble getting clients to agree with me. Do you have any tips? Well, of course I do, right? Like this is what I live and I breathe every single day. And in speaking with Jane, what I found was she would go just listening to, actually I reviewed a call, and as I was listening, what I found was that there was she said the word I a tremendous amount of times. And so that's, as I heard that, I thought of this technique right away. And I thought, this is the one thing that Jane could deploy in her business today, and it would go away. And she would actually be able to, have that agreement come her way. So what we're going to do is dive into some slide here, like we always do. And we're going to walk through how to change your prospect's state using NLP frameworks and techniques in high ticket convos. Okay. So we're talking about changing states here. This means you're taking your prospect's mindset and you're changing it to another mindset or a different state. It's called shifting referential indexes. I is a reference. You are a reference, right? He is a reference. She is a reference. They are another reference. Those are all the ones you really need to know. There's more, but not necessary. But using this technique, this is how to start a conversation talking about yourself and shifting the prospect's state of mind to think how you want them to think, putting them into a trance. This is so powerful and it works almost every time. And it's not used that often. And so this is one that I use and I wanted to share with you. So here's an example of when we should actually do this. When we start a sales conversation. What better time to start the conversation with getting the prospect to start already shifting the reference of, it's not about Sean, it's about that person, because most people, when they go into a sales conversation as a prospect, what happens? They think the salesperson, and this typically happens if it's a traditional salesperson, is just going to barf all over them with product, feature, benefit, blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares about that stuff until it's actually time to make a buying decision, right? And then that stuff becomes important, right? We need to know certain things about certain things. But when you're starting a sales conversation, it is good to start with you've just shortly, but then we want to shift the reference of index to them, okay? Secondly, to shift your prospect's perspective on a current topic. Let's say you're in the middle of a sales conversation and you're going down this path, and all of a sudden your particular prospect disagrees with your point of, the perspective, or you have a different perspective on a certain topic, right? So say, for example, if it's in the online space, maybe it's virtual events. Your perspective of virtual events, if you've ever been to one, maybe it was awesome. And this person's, perspective of, hey, I've been to them and they were cool when I went, but then when I ran one, it really sucked, right? If you're having that conversation, this is a good thing to use because you can leak in some experience and you can do some other things. And lastly, to make them think how you want them to in order to share your point of view, right? If somebody is new or unaware of your product, solution, or system, or whatever it is that you have, and they've never really heard about it before, this technique becomes super powerful when you're wanting to change their emotional state just a little bit, get them into a trance where they're open and ready to accept any ideas that you want to shower on them, right? The right ones, right? And again, this is a little bit more advanced. So before I go to the next slide, just promise me in the comments below that you will use this for good and never for evil. Write yes below, please, 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 because this stuff can be used to manipulate to a negative outcome. And that's never the intention. The stuff that I'm teaching, you and I have an agreement because you're a FlowChat connector here with us, that you're using this only for good and never for evil. So here's the technique, the NLP pattern: shift from I statements to a you statement in the middle of your sentences, your paragraphs, or your conversations. Okay. So again, it's just shifting I to you. That's it. That's the pattern. So simple to apply, underused, but completely powerful, right? Here's what I mean. So so I'll just read this and then we'll go back and look through it. So when I first started thinking of sales this way, I had that fluttering feeling in my stomach, the type you get when you know that there is a brilliant idea tickling at the back of your mind. Have you ever felt that? Okay, so let's break it down. See what I'm talking about? I could have kept that one all on me. I could have said, when I first started thinking about sales this way, I had this fluttering feeling in my stomach, the type I got when I knew that there was a brilliant idea tickling in the back of my mind. Have you ever felt that? It's very easy to shift back to I to you, right? So again, when you shift from I to you, what happens is it pulls your prospect into your world. And from the neurolinguistics, you're actually communicating directly with the subconscious mind, and they will feel what you're saying instead of just hear what you're saying. And then this is the layer of rapport that most traditional salespeople will never get to. But this technique will allow you to just clip over the edge and get them to that place where then you can say something like this, and it's powerful. Let's look at another example. We're going to go into emotions here. I'm going to talk about curiosity. Curiosity is one of the best emotions that you can put a prospect into, especially if they're unaware about your product or service or solution, right? If they're an unaware prospect, this becomes a really powerful tool for you to use today. So here's how it sounds. Let me read it to you. When I feel curious, I have this buzzing in my head and I feel drawn into the subject with a sort of itch that you just can't scratch that itch, having to find out more. Like, has that ever happened to you? And you see, it's very subtle. In this one, I said, when I feel curious, I have a buzzing in my head and I feel drawn. Okay, so you could even switch that third, the I, to you. It sounds something like, hey, when I feel curious, I have a buzzing in my head. And it's kind of like you feel drawn into the subject with a sort of itch that you just can't scratch, having to find out more. And so you see how I'm taking the word I and I'm just switching it for the you, the reference of index. It's a big term, but all it means is shifting I to you. And it's something you can put in your conversations like today, right now. And when you do this, what you will find is people will immediately agree with you more, and you'll be in a place where they will be completely open to any ideas that you have. And it's super simple to execute on. And that's it. So guess what? You just been tuned up in another FlowChat connector high ticket tune up. I love your face. Don't forget, smash that like button, feed this to the algorithm gods. We need more people to get good at this stuff so that we can make more impact, right? Your product and your service, the reason you're there is because you believe in it. So stay believing and learn these things so that you can actually go out and impact the world, and in return, fill up your bank account. With that said, I can't wait to see you next time. We'll talk then. Bye for now.